If you upload a photo into Google's reverse image search, it'll find websites where that picture has appeared or provide visually similar images that have the same coloring and composition. The leading search engine in Russia, called Yandex, has reverse image search too, but it doesn't work the same way. It's not looking for visually similar images, it's looking for similar faces, the same face. The difference between these search engines is that Google hasn't switched on facial recognition and Yandex has. On Google, you can enter a name and look for a face, but on Yandex, you can enter a face and look for a name. And that distinction represents a potentially enormous shift in our offline lives, where we usually decide who we introduce ourselves to. Now that computer scientists have created tools that can turn faces into name tags, it's worth reflecting on how we got here and what we stand to lose. A computer's facial recognition system has broadly the same components as your own facial recognition system. You see someone with your eyes, your mind processes the features of their face and recalls their identity from your memory. Now imagine if you could have eyes in lots of places and could download and store memories from other people. Then you have something more like the automated version of facial recognition, which has only come together in the past 5 years or so. Its eyes are digital cameras, revolutionary machines that turn light into data.
It's a state-of-the-art digital model, which records images on memory chips instead of photographic film.
Digital imagery arose in the early 2000s, which coincided with the arrival of the social internet. So right when we were able to take an unlimited number of pictures, Facebook, Flickr, YouTube, and other sites told us that our images had a home online.
100 million photos are being tagged every day on Facebook.
Professional photography also went up on websites, news articles, and photo libraries, and Google's web crawlers gathered them into image search. And then the computer vision researchers went to work. The millions of digital photos posted to the internet, like the Facebook pictures where we tagged our friends or the Google image results of celebrities, they were used to build the mind of facial recognition systems. That mind is made up of a series of algorithms. They locate faces in an image, map facial features to correct for head rotation, and then take over 100 measurements that define that individual face. Those measurements are usually described as the distance between the eyes, the length of the nose, the width of the mouth. But the truth is, nobody knows exactly what's being measured. That's determined by a deep learning algorithm looking for correlations in raw pixel data. To train that algorithm, engineers give it sets of triplets: an anchor photo, another photo of the same person, and a photo of a different person. The algorithm is tasked with deciding what to measure so that the statistical difference between the two matching photos is as small as possible, while the distance between the non-matching photos is as large as possible. These algorithms are refined through millions of examples, but they still don't perform equally well on all types of people or all types of photos. That hasn't stopped them from being packaged and distributed as ready-to-use software. But whoever uses that software won't be able to identify you until you're in their database of known faces. That's the memory of the system, and it's separate from the training images. In the case of the iPhone's Face ID, it's a database of one. You volunteer to store your face on your device in exchange for easily unlocking your phone. Companies like Facebook and Google also keep databases of their users. But it's governments that typically have access to the largest databases of names and faces. So facial recognition significantly expands the power of the state. They collected these images for other reasons, and now they're repurposing them for facial recognition without telling us or obtaining our consent, which is why several US cities have banned government use of facial recognition. In the private sector, retail stores, banks, and stadiums can create or buy watch lists of known shoplifters, valued customers, or other persons of interest, so they're notified if one of those people shows up. And then there's another source of labeled photos. Those are the ones we've been labeling ourselves by setting up profiles on social media networks. It's typically against the terms of use to program bots that can download faces and names from sites like LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook. But it's doable. And what's at stake is something that most of us take for granted: our ability to move through public spaces anonymously.
So we typically think of public and private as being opposites, but is there such thing as having privacy when we're in public?
I would like to think so.
Evan Selinger is a professor of philosophy who argues that facial recognition is a threat to obscurity, which is the idea that personal information is safer when it's hard to obtain or understand.
So we have natural sort of limitations in what we can perceive and what we can hear. Even the human mind has, sort of basic limits in how much information it can store. So one of the things that technologies do is they reduce the transaction costs of being able to find information, being able to store information, being able to share information, and being able to correctly interpret information. And so facial recognition is probably the most obscurity eviscerating technology ever invented.
We don't have to imagine how this could play out. It's already happening with photos from the Russian social media network VK. Eric Toller, a journalist who covers Europe for Bellingcat, showed me how it works with a random video of Russian soccer fans picking fights in Poland.
There's about 10 or so of these soccer hooligans in this video, and for every single one of them, find their profiles on VK. Okay, I'll get this guy in the background. Okay, let me save him. There we go. Okay, so yeah, here's the first result, this guy. So if you click the photo here, it'll take you directly to the photos link. And here he is. I think he's wearing the same shirt.
Wow.
Yeah, he's wearing the same shirt even. This is him too. So this is probably his buddy who uploaded a photo. Yeah, so this is probably this guy, his profile, and here's his buddy right here. Yeah, so here he is during a baptism, probably.
And the photo you uploaded is not particularly clear or high resolution.
No, not at all, right? It's just it's probably a 200 by 100. So it is kind of, it does feel weird when you do this and you have access to way more information than you should, is what it feels like. But also, we only publish what we're 1,000% sure of. And if possible, we don't, maybe don't include the names of the people.
How you feel about this technology probably depends on how much you sympathize with the person being identified. Bellingcat has used these tools to identify people linked to the attack on flight MH17 in eastern Ukraine. They've also been used to dox police officers accused of brutality, anti-corruption activists protesting against Vladimir Putin, random strangers as part of an art project, and sex workers, porn performers, and others who have posted anonymous photos online.
The way that we share our images and our names on social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, it seems to suggest that we don't want to be obscure. We're not really looking to be anonymous. Are we allowed to want to share and connect with other people online and still be able to expect not to be recognized when we're offline in our regular lives?
I would say absolutely. In fact, I would go further and say if we ever create a society where that's not a reasonable expectation, a lot of the things that are fundamental to being a human being are really going to be compromised. Having any individuality requires experimenting in life, and experimenting requires the protections of some obscurity. But also intimacy requires obscurity, right? If you want to be able to share different parts of your life with different people, and I think most of us do, right? We don't want to come into work and behave the same way we do with our friends. We don't want to treat our partners in the same way we do acquaintances. And the concern when you lose too much obscurity is that these domains bleed into one another and create what's called context collapse. And it doesn't mean that one is more real or one is more authentic. Leading a rich life requires us to be able to express ourselves in these diverse ways.
The photos we took to share with friends or document history or simply get a government ID have been used to build and operate a technology that strips away the protections that obscurity has always provided us. It's nothing less than a massive bait and switch, one that could change the meaning of the human face forever.
Hi, I'm Joss. Hey, I'm Samantha, and we're excited to announce the launch of a new project called Open Sourced from Recode by Vox.
For the next year, we're going to be writing articles and making videos about the hidden consequences of technology to help you make informed decisions.
And we would love for you to contribute to our reporting by joining the Open Sourced Reporting Network.
We want to know what questions you have about the technology that you use every day. What do you want to know about how your data is being used?
Please go to vox.com/open-sourced network to submit your questions and ideas.
We can't wait to hear what you're curious about.